I got to just roll, and my lunch is made. Got my headphones on and I close the door, don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world we're living in. With the boys at Raconteurs news. To Raconteurs, to Raconteurs, to Raconteurs news, Raconteurs news, Raconteurs.
Do you mind doing the intro, Paul? Because I haven't got it live on the website. I'll give you the thing, give it thumbs up when we're live. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Raconteurs News on this Tuesday, the 12th of June 2018. We're at the moment just struggling to get our guest on tonight, which is Jon Wedger. We're having a few technical issues, but we're looking to get him on as soon as possible. So for the generalisation of things, let's just have a chat and see what's gone on over the weekend. Have you seen any news over the weekend, Andy, at all?
I've been mostly concentrating on who's ill and who's not, because it's got pretty bonkers with that with me just lately. But I've kind of seen little bits and bobs here and there. I've seen some real crazy shit going on, I'll be honest. What's particularly struck you this week, Paul?
Well, the weekend in particular, you might not have seen it, but I'm sure you'll have heard about the Tommy Robinson protests that have been going on down in London.
I've seen bits of it, yeah.
Yeah, again, we chatted with Alex Thompson last week about whether there's an agenda behind the Tommy Robinson stuff. But looking at the, let's be diplomatic, looking at the supporters of Tommy down there and what they were up to this weekend, I thought the World Cup had already started and it had kicked off in London this weekend, because there just seemed to be a lot of football hooligans. Basically, if they were trying to do something, I mean, all right, I can understand there's frustration and some people don't know how to express that properly, but doing what they're doing, to me, it's playing into the establishment's or the system's hands, whichever way you want to call it. But one of the weirdest things that struck me was to see somebody championing Tommy with a hoodie up and a complete balaclava on with the microphone there, so you couldn't tell who the hell it was, but he whipping this crowd up, and then he led them into the national anthem of God Save the Queen with the Israeli flag.
What?
They stood there holding an Israeli flag, some are giving Nazi salutes. I'm going, I don't know what country or what era that I'm in right now. So, I think that was one of the main things that struck me this weekend. Go on.
Did you also see that folks had been posting reports with pictures that it turned out was actually a picture of when Liverpool came home after winning the European Cup?
Yes. I mean, I thought, that's a bit desperate, isn't it? I mean, it's bloody 13 years since we won that thing, and they're using photographs from our homecoming for that. I thought things are, smacking of desperation what's going on at the minute. The mainstream news just doesn't seem to be getting a grasp on anything at the moment, Andy. You try and look at the mainstream news and you think there's got to be some news of this in there somewhere, and it's smatterings. And you'd think it was like, it would be prominent in the news, but it's not prominent at all. It's like, oh, by the way, this happened. It's like going to be followed up by a cat doing a funny thing at the end of the news, that type of thing. I don't know. I really don't. I really can't put my finger on what seems to be going on with this thing. I understand that there's a lot of frustrated people, and I understand the free speech aspect of what's being attacked. I mean, I've just been reading an article well, I've just seen a guy who posted an article that was live earlier on from Australia, and he actually got arrested and sentenced for a post that he put on Facebook. But it wasn't actually the post itself, what he'd done. What he actually got sentenced for, the wording was the intent. So it was the thought that he put into the post that he wanted to upset Muslims. Now, Muslims haven't complained about it. Not one Muslim has contacted him. Nobody's complained about this. But the court was, the judge was convinced by the prosecution that there was an intention of the poster to cause harm. And I thought, wow, this is thought police. We were told about this a long time ago, and everybody said it wouldn't happen.
Just hold your fire a second. I need to put you on hold briefly because I need to speak to John.
Please.
Just 1 second, mate. Hiya, John. You're live on air now, mate. Can you hear me? Yeah. I need you to... you've added me now. Right. Okay. Let me... Yeah, okay. I've got you there. I need to add you into this call. Right. That's it. We've got... Hang on. Have we got Paul in the main... Have we got John in the main call now?
I'm here.
Are you here, John? Add people to this call. There we go. That's it. We should have John with us very shortly.
Oh, I've been a bit of a mare that tonight.
I've had such a stress-free day today, you wouldn't believe it.
Oh, mine's been a bit stressful, so this is like relaxing, believe it or not.
Oh, I just spent the day in the company of my little oasis of tranquility. He's 2 years old, and he's been an absolute trooper today. So,
oh, you can't beat that, mate. Can't beat that's good medicine, that is.
Right, here we go. We're having trouble adding John to the call. Right. Now he's gone. What the hell's happening? Right, okay. There's something going very strange with Skype. Exit full screen. Right, let's see if we can add John into this call. Well, we'll add both of them in because I've got... there we go.
Hiya.
Hiya, John. We've got you at last.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's all gone a bit wrong because I had another guy, and I thought he was part of your crowd. And
don't worry about it, mate. We've got you on now.
So I've put him on hold and come here. So yeah, apologies for the delay. It's just all gone a bit mad. I'm no good with technology, see.
No worries, mate. This is the joys of live radio. Our listeners are used to us getting things a bit round the neck by now. It's something we do on a regular basis.
To be fair, John, I don't think we booked you for your technical capabilities anyway.
As a result, you know. So I might have to a bit later on just sort of try and drop this fella a line just to let him know that I'm offline, as it were, you know. Just out of politeness.
We have a break around about 5 to 8 o'clock anyway, where there's a couple of songs played, so
okay.
So there's no worries there. Anyway, I've introduced you, Jon Wedger, and I think that you could describe yourself a lot better than I can. So give us a bit of background, just briefly, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah, well, I'm a recently retired police detective. From the Metropolitan Police. I served for nearly 25 years. I specialised in child abuse and vice investigations, and I came to prominence for my role as a whistleblower. And I whistleblew back in early 2000s regarding the deliberate cover-up of child prostitution in London. Now, what happened then was I was on an investigation, and it involved young kids, mainly from the care system, being coerced and groomed into child prostitution, given drugs, pimped out all over the place, for all manner of clients, and it, you know, this sort of racket had been going on for decades. But when I brought it to the attention of my senior officer, I was just aggressively and vilely just threatened and bullied in an attempt to silence me. I was a young single parent at the time of 4 children, and the threats that were made against me involved being told, if you mention a word of this, you're going to lose your job, your children, and your home. You must shut your effing mouth. You have no idea who and what you're dealing with. And it did work for a couple of years, but then my conscience got the better of me, and I came forward and made allegations against the Met Police to cover it up. But then what happened then was the second round of bullying, and this was more intense, and this actually involved them trying to prosecute. And by that time, I had connected with other police members, and what happened then was that they came out very, very simple stories. Now, these whistleblowers were only detectives that had exposed similar crimes. They'd also exposed child prostitution. And this involved very brave proper Ed Harper, exposed the hoping for them to come up. That involved child murders. Thank you, Oliver, for a great mention start. And since then, there's been more enhanced investigation. But what was really similar in all cases, well, they were identical, was that we exposed child prostitution to each and every one of us, and each and every one of us bullied at the same time.
Wow.
There's an algorithm of bullying, is what I call it, you know, and this is what they do, and this is what they do, and it's quite funny because I got contacted by an ex-Radio 1 DJ the other day, and he said to me, watch a series on All 4, the Channel 4 sort of like internet site, and it's called Red Riding, and it's a drama based in the 70s and the 80s in Yorkshire, and it's all to do with child prostitution cover-ups, you know, and then again they had In the Line of Duty, I think it was a BBC drama, very similar. You know, allegorically, we've been told about these cover-ups.
I was just going to say, John, they seem to tell us in documentaries, in films and TV, they seem to tell us exactly what they're up to, but because it's entertainment, it seems to suspend the belief of people, doesn't it?
It's unbelievable. And it's the same as these senior officers all the time, you know, they come out with the same rhetoric, and the bullying campaigns are identical. So there is a design element to this.
Yeah.
You know, but what we have to do as whistleblowers is stand together and never back down. Unfortunately, too many people back down, too many people get scared. And with the police, like the military, back then it was a discipline service. So if you're told don't do it, you don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, it was different. I took an oath, and my oath was to act without fear or without favour.
Yeah.
You know? And when I see the fear that these young children encounter, then my fear blends into insignificance.
Exactly. Well, you're protecting the life. That was your job, wasn't it? It's protect life and property in that order.
Yeah.
And you're saying you're going to do that without fear. And the fact is, I said to this on phone to you, John, that it takes balls. It takes balls to be able to stand up and do this when your family's being attacked, when your home's being attacked. I mean, you did tell me a little story about what you said when you come to the end of your telling. You said, right, go on, I'm guilty of everything. So explain what you said there.
Well, what had happened is that the intensity of the attack against me, it was so bad. I mean, over a 3-year period, you know, I would bear in mind I was threatened with the loss of my job, my children, and my home. Now, to even put my children in that, I mean, who the hell do they think they are, you know? And over this 3-year period, well, my job, there was 9 occasions to convict me, 9 attempts to get me before a court, right? there was also my house. I nearly lost my house. And at 9 attempts.
Sorry, John, we seem to have lost you there, mate. And have you got any audio there, pal?
No, I've lost John. Try again, John.
I'm not hearing anything this end, boys.
No. Have you hit the mute button somewhere, John? Right. John's gone offline. I'm hoping he's going to call us on his other device, because on his phone there, the sound was a bit in and out, wasn't it?
Andy, I'm not hearing you, pal.
You're not hearing me. Sorry, you're not hearing me because I got my mute button. This is this is live radio, folks.
Yeah, what a joy. Christ. You just start talking about the meat and potatoes of police cover-ups and then we lose him.
Right, so what's the deal with John? Have we got him back on? Is he coming back on? I presume he'll call back in when he can.
Can you not just add him?
I can try. Trouble is he's got two different accounts, so add people to this call. We'll try that. There we go. I've added him on both accounts, so we should get him on one or the other. Yeah, this is riveting radio.
Do you know what, though? I did actually pause for a thought because of John's profile being so high at the moment. I did think we might have a little bit of teething trouble tonight.
Yeah, we look like we're having the good old Skype problems. Yeah, Jason's listening in. Yeah, hi John. Yeah, it would be if we could get John on the call. It seems there's a bit of interference somewhere. Well, no, we know how shit Skype is. It's just pure coincidence that it's more shit than usual when we get high-profile guests who are speaking out against the powers that shouldn't be.
Exactly. Well, just to reiterate what John was talking about then with his background, the digging that he did to get into that, all finding about how sex offenders were avoiding the sex offenders register with living on canal barges, all this kind of stuff, that has given him this platform, and he's been promoted to that unit, and because of his good work, he's been harassed and harangued, and they tried to destroy this fella. And for him to still be standing and willing to keep doing this, you've got to say that takes some balls. It really does take some balls.
Oh, it does, absolutely, because I mean, you can only imagine what the level of harassment's going to be, because I mean, we've had whistleblowers on before and we've seen how they've been targeted. We had a friend of Jason and AIDS on, Daisy, a while back. Now, she was an NHS surgeon and she blew the whistle because she saw some financial impropriety and they ended up sectioning her. And
exactly, they seem to be using that a lot, the Mental Health Act. A good friend of mine was sectioned because she was challenging companies who would claim that she owed them money, and she was just asking the basic questions, and they ended up getting a section for that. They held her for something like 70 odd days before she got out. So, we know that this stuff is going on, but you find it interesting when you get actually on live with somebody like this and you experience these problems. I mean, we had Gordon Bowden on, and we had a good few callers on there, and Skype struggled a bit, but we didn't have this kind of trouble.
No, this is it is showing that John is online with both the I mean, it probably turns out both the accounts are the same account, it's just different devices, but it doesn't appear he's able to get on the call with either of them. So I
You said, is that good news?
I just heard a boom, a little boom of a mic. I thought it was John cutting in, but it wasn't. It was just a boom on your mic. No, we're not. We're having problems. So let me go to exit full screen. I'll take that away. And I'll type John a message. I can't speak and type very well at the same time.
I don't really know what I can talk to myself about. I know I can talk, right?
I'll send him it on the other one.
I can't even find it as well.
There we go. Okay, we'll see if it gets back to us. Right. Oh, what a bum. So, yeah, well, I suppose we've got our listeners listening, and we'll try and get John back on as soon as Skype allows him, or GCHQ. If you're listening at GCHQ, we know you are. Just get a proper fucking job, because the game's up. They're all coming after you.
Shall we give Alex a ring and ask him to get his mates to turn themselves off?
Yeah, that'd be useful. Oh wow, we've got Shully on the call. I've only spoke to Shully once before. He's over in Germany, I believe, and Bernie's joined us. Russell Burton. Russell's asking Paul, can we get him in the studio to put a video together? So
definitely, if we can facilitate that with John, Russ, definitely. I think we've been talking about doing a video for some time, Russell. So yeah, we'll definitely try and get something sorted. I think July is going to be the best month for me. I've got a bit of time there, so give us a call. We'll sort something out, pal. Even if we can't do something with John directly, maybe we can sort something. So yeah, I'm up for that, Russ. I don't know what you want to do then, Andy. Do you want me to try and drag some articles up to have a chat, or do you want to put a song on and take it from there afterwards?
I think it'd probably be just as easy if we find a song, and let's find music, find what we've got there, and we'll put something on. We'll get one of Heath's songs up. That'll be the best plan.
Let's go.
Right, what do we got from Heath on here? Heath Dweft. We'll have A Boy from Sheffield on. So we'll get back to you folks as soon as we can get Jon Wedger back on the call. In the meantime, we've got some music from one of our amazingly talented listeners, who also happens to be Jason's best mate. So enjoy this, and we'll be back as quick as we can. Right, so bear in mind, Facebook Live will still be able to hear us.
Yeah, that's no worries.
So, exit full screen. Right, add to group call. See how that's working. No, that's hung up. So we'll try the other one. Come on, John.
The only other thing I could suggest is if we don't have John on camera and I ring and I call him and put him on speakerphone.
That's going to sound dreadful, mate. You tried that. It really doesn't work. I'll tell you what I'll try and do. I'll drop this call, try and call John, and then I'll call you back, add you back in when I've got John on the call.
Yeah.
Aha, we've got you back, John. Hello.
Can you see me all right?
Yeah, we can see you brilliant, mate. Right.
I've had to do it via my phone. I don't know what happened. The crashed on me.
No worries, mate. No worries.
So,
We're just playing a tune at the minute while we get the feedback up. Facebook Live can hear us, so just don't say anything you don't want going out on there.
yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. I'm just lighting a fag. I've got a bit stressed with it all. It's technology, you know.
No worries, man.
Mate. No worries. Take it easy. We have this all the time, John.
You get your smoke lit, and then I'll fade the tune, and we'll go back up on air. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, take all this stress. I'm gonna mute and skin up shortly.
Right. I went and it's bizarre because there was this other fella got in touch with me, and I thought he was all one of the same because I just found it a bit too ironic that I'd get two radio interviews both at the same time.
That's yeah. I've no idea who this guy is, but don't mention his name because it'll go out live on Facebook.
No. He just
I'm gonna.
He said it was an open forum as well, and so's yours. I thought, it's all interconnected. So
right, I'll fade the music and I'll bring you guys back up now. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Right, John. Nice to have you back at last.
Sorry about that. It went a little bit.
John, don't worry about it.
Pear-shaped, as we used to say.
Don't worry about it. We have it a lot. Where were we up to? I was just going through the event, but so we've all been brought together now, and and what we're doing, we're pushing through Parliament to get the law changed so that the police officers or whistleblowers get all the protection that they need, because at present we're totally outside of any employment law, so they can do what they want with us. Now it's sort of amalgamated so many people, because I do a lot of work now with victims and survivors of abuse, and I work very closely with a man called Bill Maloney. Yeah, I know Bill.
And Bill's just done a terrific Pimax Films have put out a really good short film called The Walking Whistleblowing Detective, and it followed me on a walk that I did from London to Manchester, just to raise awareness of the plight of the police whistleblower, but also justice for the victims, because if the police are silent, the victims don't stand a chance. And this is what I need to say to people that have got a little bit of the ump, as it were, with the police, and they are distrusting of the police. Like social workers, there are really good coppers out there, and there are good social workers out there, and they do their best to help the children, but unfortunately, when they do, for some reason they get silenced.
Well, the reason being is that the powers that be that control this police force now. We say a police force. We know that this privatisation has crept in. We know that this is all now been corporatised. We know that this is based on profits and figures. As you well know, I'm quite closely related to these facts and figures. So going into the whistleblowing aspect of it, do you think you'll be able to, because although we're talking just about the police, there's whistleblowers coming from a lot of the public sector, and they're all to blow the whistle because of what has happened, to the likes of yourself. Do you see that what you're doing will enable others in other backgrounds to step forward and get to
well, it has, because I've opened it to anyone really that sort of has any involvement with child protection. And I recently met with a social worker called Jane Senior, and she's the lady who exposed the scandal in Rotherham. Now, if you go to Rotherham, it's a small, ex-steel town in the northeast of the UK, and it's not a big place at all. Yet they had the next conservative estimate, 2,000 children that had been groomed and coerced into prostitution. So, and one of the things I like to say is that when we see these cases coming out, we're talking about Rotherham, Newcastle, Rochdale, Aylesbury, Oxford, Luton, and all these. and it does tend to centre around with the emphasis on Muslim grooming gangs.
Yeah.
I like to say now, I dealt with one case of that in London. We've not heard of one case from London. Now, bear in mind, London is the biggest urban conurbation in Western Europe, with a population not shy of 10 million. Does no one scratch their head and think why? I mean, I found in 1 week alone 50 children that were involved in prostitution. Now, if that had carried on, if I'd have been allowed to carry on, I mean, God knows how many I would have found by the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and that this is the biggest secret. And what we're looking at is paedophilia is probably the ultimate secret society.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, the question that needs to be asked is why? Why are they silencing people? Why are they attacking people like me? You know, well, when we are doing what is expected of us by law, we're doing what's expected of us, you know, morally, from a Christian society, what's expected of us, you know, and knowing that what my heart expects me and really what my family expected me to do, to be a good man. Yeah. And if we ignore the most vulnerable society, we're letting society down at its core. And we are setting ourselves up as a decent society to fail. And we are seeing the fruits of that every single day. We're seeing it with our mental health. We're seeing it with suicides. We're seeing it with alcoholism, drug addiction, and we're seeing it with violence. And it can all be attributed to child abuse.
And you see all those people, especially with the mental health, you see all those people getting put in the cheapest places, which is prison.
Well, of course. I mean, what we're looking at here, Paul, is that, you know, I'm a man that in my career I had to work with facts.
Yeah.
You know, and so sorry, just have a quick fag as we do this, but working with facts. Now, I put an appeal out for anyone that's got any stats on this, and I had a fella come to me who was high up in the Home Office and the NHS in respect to what's he doing? Forensic psychology, right? So this guy, he presents evidence for the courts in respect to people that go to him with mental health problems, and he said to me, over 90% of the people he deals with, their mental health has been caused by childhood trauma. Yeah. And then what happens then is that we pay people a very good living wage to break the cycle, right? But they do nothing but antagonize this situation, right? At no point does anyone break the cycle, and all it does is sets these young kids up to fail from cradle to grave. They're a cash cow. On top of being used as a sex object and being pimped out for the perverse, what we're also seeing is people making good money out of this, and they're not helping at all. And it's shocking. People really need to wake up and see that this is the rotten society.
When your boss was aggressively, shall we say, aggressively challenging you over this stuff,
yeah.
Would you say, with the expanse of, because I remember one of the terms that you used, that when they put you into the promoted you to the new unit, you said, we knew you could dig, John, but we didn't realise how well you could dig. So would you say you were getting closer to, like, as you were finding paedophiles and paedophile rings, would you say that rings were expanding into, say, powers?
Well, I think they always have done. And I think, you know, I was asked to comment on Muslim grooming gangs, and I said, you know, this is not a religious issue. We cannot let this be diversive and split us, right? Yeah. I've already had two friends. One is arguing that the Muslims are doing it. Next one's arguing, saying, the roots from the Jewish community. It's not that at all, in my opinion, right? This is organised criminality. Yes. Right? These children have always been used as an object to make huge amounts of money. Yeah. And I think it's always been there. Kids are a commodity, and these people will pay a lot of money to do what they want sexually with a child. They enjoy it. It's what they want to do, and it's what they will continue to do unless we say no. And you know, I was told, you've got no idea, you know, of who or what you're dealing with. Yeah. But I was told by Lenny Harper who was the couple who's sort of exposed, you know, not just the child abuse, but the child murder in the kids' home in Hotel-Grand. And he said, you know, just be very careful, John, because the tentacles of this will go right to the heart of the establishment.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Lenny's investigation was, he was shut down, wasn't it? Shut down and taken over because he said there's something wrong here, there's something very real here. And then all of a sudden we're being told there were doll parts that were found. What about these shackles? Oh, they're nothing. You know, it was all hush type thing. Yeah, this is where Jimmy Savile used to go. You know, all these dots are being joined absolutely massively. You know, have we lost John again there?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I'm still with you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, no, I can hear you.
There's a call coming in. It will call off in a minute. I won't press any buttons because I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, I mean, you've got to look at Jimmy Savile as a benchmark for what has gone on, and he has opened the eyes for so many people that refuse to accept that this was happening at all. You know, I was even laughed at once by mentioning Jimmy Savile in the CID office and what he was involved in.
Wow, that's amazing. And would you say, as a detective, would you say, in your opinion, the royal family, have we still got your job? Yeah,
I should be back.
Would you say that Jimmy, nobody else could get into that inner circle because they would be vetted, they would be investigated, they know everything about their background? Would you think Jimmy Savile could get that close without the royal family knowing or having an inkling, even, shall we say, giving them
Well, I mean, it's highly unlikely, isn't it? I mean, when you look at the vetting process, I mean, I went for a job in the police and I actually got it, and it was to deal with top secret information, and the vetting I had to go through was phenomenal. I mean, they need to know everything about you, and when we look at the vetting now, the level I went through, they want to know all your income, every member of your family, your partner's family. And at the time, my missus was from Eastern Europe. They had to check out her parents, and they also want to know about your sexual partners, and you have to tell them. And they say to you, look, if you are involved in any sort of shenanigans, sort of outside of work, you know, things like swinging parties and things like that, they said, due to the checks they do, there's a good chance we'll find out. If you don't tell us, you will fail your vetting. And one of the sergeants said to me, said, you know, another thing that they will look at, if you are homosexual in today's politically correct environment, and the police, you know, more so than any other occupation, are very much into political correctness. She said, homosexual will go against you. Right now, if that's the case, when you look at some of these MPs that have been named, that have attained the status of like Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary, and have been named as being potentially involved in paedophilia, how the hell did they get to them levels? Because there would have been scrutiny on them. They would have known what they were doing. And, you know, there's quite a few names, I won't go into them, but that I know about, you know, and it was like an open secret that they were involved in paedophilia. So it beggars belief that the security services, let alone special branch, don't know it goes on. And so anyone that's near to the royal family, I mean, the level of scrutiny you go through for that will be absolutely intrusive. Yeah. So it's an insult to intelligence and common sense. It really is. And
you've still got the flag wavers who's lined the route and wave flags for the royal wedding, and you think, where are these people from? You know,
I'll tell you one thing. I had a meeting with the Guardian, and it was one of the assistant editors of the Guardian, and I mentioned an MP, and she said, well, that can't be the case. That man was Home Secretary. And you think this reluctance to accept the truth. And again, it's, I don't know, there is a saying for it. It's protecting what you hold dear, and it's the same as celebrities. People refuse to accept it because there might be an iconic sort of band member, and all of a sudden they're named, and they won't have it because that's the band they love.
Yeah.
You know, they follow, they wear the t-shirt. You know, it would have been the same with Jimmy Savile. There would have been, and it's quite funny when you look at the documentary that Louis Theroux did, sort of post Savile's exposure, and it was still that Savile's PA refused to accept it. And, you know, and even, I would have thought even the cleaner at the BBC would have heard the rumours. So anyone near to them, they definitely know. They definitely know. And, you know, for me, it's not enough, you know, to know about it and do nothing. You know, in order for the triumph of evil, Paul, it takes but for good men to do nothing, you know.
Exactly.
And it's,
I'd say,
for me, it doesn't hold water, and I refuse to accept it. You know, it's cognitive dissonance at the very least.
yeah.
Absolutely, John. If I could just jump in there, we've got an absolute plethora of questions, both flooding in on the chat room and on Facebook. So if I could just jump in, because I don't think Paul can see him, can you?
No, I don't touch the computer.
No worries. We've got quite a few on both forums asking about what is the level of membership of the Freemasons within the Met Police, and there's also a few asking, were you actually, or have you been at any time a member yourself, John?
No, I'm not a Mason, and the thing is, with Freemasonry, what you're looking at is that it is a secret society. Now, when you're younger in service, when you join the police, you're ignorant to these things, and it's only as you go on, these things start cropping up, and you know, you go into the CID, and it becomes more prominent. All of a sudden, you know, there'll be like a Wednesday afternoon, there'll be no one in the office, and you'll be one of two people left there to do the collating or whatever. And you think, where's everyone gone? They've just disappeared. And you never really noticed the influence it had. And I think probably you never really will. But to say that it hasn't got an influence would be naive, to say the least. I mean, what you're talking about is an allegiance, an oath within an oath.
Exactly.
And it is big. And if you ask my opinion, does it have any bearing on things? Well, it must do. It must do. But again, there must be Masons that report by this.
Well, that absolutely.
Well, I know there are. You know.
There are a lot of people who join Freemasonry purely with the view that it's a charitable organisation and they do good, and there's maybe a bit of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But it's only once you get into the higher degrees of Masonry that this sort of stuff is talked about. And we've also got, when you were saying, you know, you've got to ask why you were being shut down. There's a lot of people asking, have you come across any evidence to suggest that it's, as is commonly put out there, that it's the intelligence services using this paedophilia as an entrapment and a blackmail process so that they can get these high profile politicians to do whatever they want, whenever they want, without question.
Well, it's only sort of post-event when I started working closely with Bill and another member of our close little team was a local authority councillor, senior social worker, and then ended up having a lot of input in Parliament. And he told me about the National Archives, where a lot of this intelligence is kept. And I said, but why do they keep it if it's so detrimental? And he turned around and said, because it has blackmail value. And I'm hearing this more and more with the circles I'm in now. But again, we have to be grounded with this and not drift off into the world of conspiracies, because, you know, conspiracies exist. I was part of one. It's statute law. It's, you know, it's statute law that's used all the time, conspiring to murder, armed robbery and everything. So they use it as a term to denigrate people. But the things I hear more and more is that it has got very, very strong blackmail value. And a good example of that is one of our whistleblowers is a chief constable called Mike Veal. And he was monumentally bullied in an attempt to silence him because he had, you know, gone ahead with the investigation into Ted Heath. in child murder, and also in satanic ritual abuse. So, and there is, I mean, there also is an attempt to protect the establishment. There's an attempt to protect the reputation of a service, which is something the police is always guilty of. And bear in mind, when I joined, a lot of the people that were joining the police had come out of the military, and love them to bits and all that, but there is this propensity for people that have come from a very disciplined background to obey orders.
Yeah,
and I was very bad at it. That's why, firstly, I wanted to become a detective, and secondly, I end up working on my own a lot, and they don't like that, you see. But yeah, I mean, I would say if I was to be asked my opinion, 100% definitely that it has massive blackmail value. But the other thing you've got to look at is
sorry, John, just before you go off that, I don't know if you remember the Tory whips in Fortescue in an interview. Yeah. Have you seen that interview where he scrapped it? And he said that people, MPs would come to the civil service with problems, perhaps with young boys, and we would make it go away. And we would know that when we called upon that favour, they would return that favour. And that even goes further back when you look at history, where it's common knowledge that Nazis held brothels. They owned brothels, and they have MPs going in and out of then they were looking to get all this then. And this, you're talking about a different country then, but then you've got to look into the background, saying who controlled Germany, who controlled Russia, who controlled us, who controlled France, who had all these inputs, including into the US. And you start looking towards the banking system, the bankers, and who run that. And it's bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
Well, Bill Maloney, I mean, he's quite candidly has said that, paedophilia has controlled global politics.
Yes, definitely.
And it has. I mean, I spoke with a guy called Ronald Bernard, who's a Dutch banker. He was an investment banker. I spoke with him, and he was telling me about the shenanigans high up within the banking industry and what they were involved with, and
very interesting story. Very.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example of how this does work. Again, I can go along with everything you say. I was never there with a lot of it, so I can't really comment too much on it. But I do believe, wholeheartedly, that this is a huge embarrassment to the country and could cause major detriment to overseas relations and everything if the truth come out, and especially the amount of blood that's been shed in the name of the Queen and in the name of the Crown. Yeah. And if they knew that they were protecting potentially what could be some of them paedophiles, then maybe that would change their attitude. But there was a detective I worked with many years ago who had served in the intelligence services in the military and then joined the police, and he was in a unit where they would do this, what they call decoy work, and it was online decoys where they would engage in online chat shows with kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he was in the chair, as they say, at a local Masonic lodge where he lived. He'd been in the Masons many years. He was actively involved in organising and running swingers parties in a very wealthy suburb of North London.
Yeah. And
he was telling me about these parties where he would have a little job there, and then once he'd finished doing his job, he could engage in whatever activity. And he said, the people that are here, John, he said, there's judges, there's very wealthy people, there's a high-ranking copper here, and all was going on. Now this copper was caught with 10,000 pornographic videos. Now, I've got to explain something about how the grading system works. When you they used to have it was called the Oliver scale. It was between 1 to 5, and a level 1 image is very minor in the whole sort of child porn remit. But when you get to a level 5, you're talking very, very disturbing images of young children and bestiality and things like that. So one level 5 image will get your prison sentence almost certainly. And I know a guy got 18 months just for one level 5 image. This fella had thousands of level 5 videos involving bestiality and young, very, very young infant children. right? He walked away from Crown Court with a community service order. So this just goes to show, you know, backs must get scrubbed somewhere along the line, you know.
John, wasn't that where where the judge stipulated that he commuted it to a community service because of his services to the police force, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to the intelligence services, his military background and everything else. And it's just, and I can always remember reading it in the paper and I thought, I know this guy, I know him, you know, I work with him. And all of a sudden there was a big campaign online for a judicial review. People were so appalled that this fella had got away with this.
Yeah.
You know, so there's definitely one rule for one rule for another. But what this has done, you see, paedophilia, like I said, is the ultimate secret society. It doesn't know any boundaries. It doesn't know any religious divisions. It doesn't know any economic divisions. Now, a lot of crime tends to be the reserve of the lower and the working classes. You know, as you probably know yourself, Paul, you know, it tends to be people from the lower end of society that end up filling out our prisons and our custody suites and everything else. Whereas paedophilia, a lot of paedophiles don't tend to have previous convictions. And if they do, they tend to be for quite devious crimes like deception and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's never really pattern. But this brings a lot of them together from all different walks of society. But as much as it does that with them, this is bringing us together, the ones that are against it, the truth seekers. Now, I'm working with Bill Maloney, who'd been in a lot of the institutions as a younger lad and been a bit naughty, as he would say himself.
Yeah.
Me and him have got a working relationship, which is nothing short of brotherly. We've been working together now for probably a year, just off of a decade now.
Yeah.
I've also do work with a guy called Chris Lambriano, and Chris Lambriano was a member of the Cray Twins firm back in the late 60s and went away for the murder of Jack the Hat. And he's does some sterling work with victims and survivors of in alcohol and rehab, because again, a lot of alcoholics, a lot of drug addicts are in that position because of trauma in the childhood. And it's bringing people that we would, you know, back in the day would have been what we would class as the enemy, and we're all working together, and we're working without incident. We have got a good working relationship.
At the end of the day, these people are people, but where we seem to have got, you touched on it earlier, which is what I'd like to now take it into, from just, I don't mean to just say just the child abuse, but the satanic ritual abuse. People, anyone who I could talk to, John, would openly agree, or at least have an opinion that would say, yeah, I could believe that MPs are involved in paedophilia, judges, all police, top 10 police, all these people could be involved in, they'll agree to that. But you bring in satanic ritual abuse, and all of a sudden, oh, that's a load of bollocks. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, it's the elephant in the room, isn't it?
It is.
And it's one of the things I'm coming across more and more. And this is when you really see a concerted attack on people when that's involved.
Yeah.
And it really is. But again, I'm getting information from all over, and there's one guy that's been really helpful to us, and he's a Catholic priest. And he done most of his grounding was in Africa. And he said in Africa, you know, they strongly believe in a division between good and evil. They believe in the presence of evil, and like a lot of mad people, they actually class them as possessed. And he said, I would tend to agree. A lot of schizophrenia is possession. And he said, but the problem we've got in the UK, we're going very, very more atheistic.
Yes.
We're losing any faith in Jesus, in whatever, and therefore if you do that, then you don't believe in the other side. And if you don't believe in the other side, then you're definitely not going to believe in the presence of SRA. But it really is a very true and very, very dangerous thing. And one of the things that sort of really opened my eyes, it was a book written by a woman called Audrey Harper, and it's called Dancing with the Devil, and she was actively engaged in satanic abuse when she was homeless on the street as a prostitute. Now, part of her duties was to go around and pick up young kids from the care system and take them to sex parties, because a lot of the people in her coven, men, this is what they liked. They liked to have sex with his children as part of their bread and butter. And her job was to go and get them. Yeah. But that did tie in with what a lot of the kids were telling me as well. From the same part of the London she was on about. They're saying, yeah, well, we'll get picked up sometimes and taken big parties in big wealthy houses. You know, and what I would say is that any sex crime against a child is a work of evil. You know, it's got its groundings in evil, and it really has.
Well, you can look back through history. You can see documented stuff going back hundreds of years. What these rituals were to do. I mean, what I'd say is to people, John, is it doesn't matter what you believe. Okay, you don't believe in God, evil, God, devil. You don't believe in that kind of stuff. That's fine. But the people that are doing this actually do. And the people that are doing it have control virtually of this reality. Now, we touched on the Masons again. If you look at the Freemasonic Bible, who do they talk about as God? They talk about Lucifer, the light bringer. So who is it? Who is their God? I mean, people I know good people who are Freemasons. They would never participate in this.
Well, funny enough, there was a good friend of mine, a detective, and his career wasn't really sort of going the way he wanted, and he was encouraged to join the Masons.
Yeah.
And so he did. He joined the Masons, and he said, "You're going to have to join, John." He said, "Because all of a sudden my career's really taken off. I'm going to America for courses. He's got onto a big national unit, and he was over the moon with it." I met up with him 5 years later, and he said to me, "Whatever you do, don't join." He said, "It's devil worship." I said, "You're joking?" He went, "No, it is." He said, "I'm out." He said, "I'm out." He said, "I didn't realise until now," you know. But again, people sometimes they just don't see it. They just don't see it because things.
They don't see the ritual, do they? They don't see the ritual side of it. They just think, oh, it's a bit of play acting to get a few handshakes and maybe, oh, I clean windows. I've got a tower block, but can I clean your windows? Yeah, of course you can. That type of.
Well, I did deal with it because I always worked, you know, the lower class areas, the ghetto areas. You know, I would deal with the relevant communities, and there would be there's a thing, the Jamaicans believe in a thing called opium, and it's a form of voodoo, and we got quite a few cases of that, and the kids said that there was you know, like sex magic would go on in these places, and the Congolese had their version of it, you know. And I've got a friend now who does a lot of investigating work in a place called Benin in West Africa, and he said that's where it began. And he said it's prevalent out there, you know. It's really is like their main religion. But my friend, my old sergeant, he worked in West Wales in Carmarthenshire, and he was involved in a big satanic abuse investigation in Carmarthenshire, and he said no, it's massive. It was massive in West Wales. He said it was really big.
Wales is
but I will say something to all the dissenters in this, and this is factual. When I joined the child protection units, we would go on courses, and they'd give you a manual. And one of the manuals, a part of it was all to do with satanic ritual abuse and its existence. So it wasn't there to denigrate it or to dismiss it. And it cited the Orkney Island case. And this was an official Metropolitan Police training manual citing satanic abuse in the Orkney Islands and the investigation that ensued subsequently as a result of that. If you look back to the 70s, all the Hammer House of Horror things, you know, they was all to do with.
Again, yeah.
They were. And then you had the Wicker Man, and, you know, there's references to this all the time. We, you know, and, you know, the Christian faith still goes on about it, you know, the prevalence of it and the dangers of it. So, you know, and it goes on. And, but, you know, another thing I say to people when they try and dismiss stuff, I said, well, imagine being a young lad and you're a victim of abuse in Southern Ireland, post-war, just after the war, and you went into the local Garda shop, you know, their police station in Southern Ireland, and you report, say, for instance, Father O'Hara had been touching you, you know, you'd never see the light of day.
Yeah.
You'd be put in an institution and you'd stay there, you'd get sectioned.
Yeah.
But what are we seeing now? We're seeing, you know, crimes that have been committed by people within the church, you know, that are coming out.
Sorry, John, there was a case just recently where I think again it's down your neck of the woods, but there was like I think something like 12 or 13 priests that were all linked with the same diocese that were all paedophiles, and then you start looking at children who are coming forward. And I see the kids talking about they've done drawings. These kids can't do these drawings that have just been made up.
If I could just jump in there, guys. I hate to disrupt you when you're on a phone like this, but we need to take a break. So if that's okay with you, John and Paul, we'll take a break. We'll be sort of 7 to 10 minutes, play a couple of tunes, and then we'll be back on, and we'll leave on where we left off. We have got an awful lot of survivors and campaigners listening, as you would appreciate, John, and there's quite a few questions there that I'd like to get in there when we come back. So, okay, so Facebook Live listeners, you'll have to put up with us listening, chatting in the break. But we'll put some music on for the Raconteurs news listeners, and we'll be back in a few minutes, folks. Thanks.
I've got to go and just put my phone on charge.
No worries, mate. I'm going to have a slash.
No worries, John. You get yourself sorted. We'll be back in a minute.
Right. Right.
Whoa, that was an interesting first half.
Yeah, please, Andy, do jump in with those questions. You know me.
I was just having it. The flow was so good there. It was very difficult to get in. What I hate is when somebody's on a flow like that, jumping in and breaking them up. Bernie's asked. Sorry?
Have we actually lost John?
I think he's dropped off the call. He's going to come back as and when. Exit full screen. Yeah, I think he's off the call now. Can't see.
Oh, we've got time getting back.
Yeah, so let's full screen. Oh, bollocks. So we go full screen there. That's it. Right. Yeah. Bernie's a survivor himself. He's been on the show a couple of times and told his story. And he's actually got a link to the Jill Dando murder with this.
That's, yeah, we could go there as well, yeah. We can actually go there.
Well, I don't know if you've seen Richard D. Hall's done a documentary on that that's been released the last week or so.
I have seen that. I
watched it. Outstanding, the depth that he's gone into. It's kind of a tack that I've not really heard about before, so I can't say whether it's yay or nay, whether he's actually nailed it. I think there's a lot of other suspicions that because she was quite close to I don't want to use his name, Kitty.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be about to expose that, so maybe that's a possible explanation. Oh.
Kitty doesn't live there anymore, does it?
No, that's the one. Shit. I've just got Tina's beer, I've better put it back. Get your own beer. So yeah, I thought you often play this when we're covering this sort of subject. I've got the Manics. If you tolerate this, your children will be next. Followed.
That's it. Good lyrics as well.
Followed by either John Lennon, Give Me Some Truth, or Hazel O'Connor, Will You? What do you reckon?
Yeah, anything not by Gary Glitter, I would suggest. I'm just reading an article here that there's a paedophile grooming gang. I'm presuming it's America just looking at it, but they're being given over $1 million legal aid to fight deportation.
I saw something about that. It's unreal, isn't it?
In fact, members of the paedophile Asian grooming gang responsible for trafficking children for sex in the UK have received over $1 million in, well, it must be a dollar, they put in dollars in legal aid. Now, legal aid is not meant to be available, Andy. That's why it's bullshit. Of course it's.
Hi, chaps.
Hi, mate. Oh, good we've got you back, John.
I just had to charge my phone. It's on that 1%.
Okay, awesome. We've got 4.5 minutes of Hazel O'Connor, and then we can bring you back in.
Yeah, I've had to quickly just send a message. I don't know if the other fella's got it. I've apologised and asked to reschedule. So, yeah. So,
yeah, I'm just wondering why he's using the name Raconteurs News. That's a bit bizarre.
No, I think that's me getting confused.
Okay.
Something else, and I couldn't believe that it was a different. I mean, the format was exactly the same, and they said there's more people joining, and I thought it was you chaps, and I thought they had some way of linking in, and but they haven't. So.
Oh well, sorry if that person's listening and we pissed on your chips tonight. I'm very sorry about that, but there'll be another time. John's.
Well, of course, you know we just have to get over it, and these things happen, don't they?
That's it. We've had it happen to us. People have double booked and stuff like that. You just got to take it on the chin and move forward, haven't you?
Yeah, you know. So
I think at the end of the day, John, this kind of information, everybody wants a piece of it because everybody knows that it's going on and everybody wants to do something about it. You just don't know where to start.
John, in your time, I'm going to ask you about this when we go back on the air. Bear in mind we're still going out on Facebook now, but did you have any connection, or did you hear any information or come across any information relating to the Jill Dando murder?
Well, do you know, it's very strange because I worked with a fellow that was quite senior in that investigation, and the one thing that was bizarre about it was that the ambulance service dispatched something like 23 ambulances to the scene, and
really?
The crime scene was totally decimated as a result of all the ambulance crews that were treading all over it. So a crime scene, it was always described as a field of pure snow, and you've got to limit the amount of footprints on that snow. So everyone that turns up, they're gonna molest it in some way.
Okay.
But if millions of people tread all over it, you have no crime scene.
Okay.
And yeah, 23. It was a phenomenal amount, and I can always remember him complaining about it. He said, "I just couldn't believe they sent so many ambulances."
Well, we've got a guy who's listening right now. He's come on and he's told us his story. He's actually wrote a book that he's had published now. It's available free of charge online as well. And he's asking a few questions. So I'd like to bring them up because he was involved with one person who was arrested for the murder of Jill Dando. He knows a lot about it, and he actually knows the story he gave and the reason he got let off, which is bizarre beyond belief. But we'll get to that. We're back on in a minute and a half.
No worries.
And I must commend you there when you said what you did about Freemasonry and your friends saying it was devil worship. That was a brave statement to make, I think, John. Well done.
Well, it's just what's said to me, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not here to sort of have a go at anyone really, other than paedophiles.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be the focus of my disdain. But I mean, you know, my good friend's a Mason, you know, and he sort of tells him about it, and he gets with one times with something bad. No, it's not you're doing what you're doing. And again, their intention isn't bad, but it's when you go deeper and deeper. I mean,
it's the society within the society that we're looking for, isn't it? You've got the Freemasons and then the society within that.
And it's worshipping a deity which has got questionable origins.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the deities...
Back in 4 seconds.
They worship...
Going back on air, John.
You know?
Going back on air, John.
Again, I mean...
John. Whoa. John.
You know?
Well, and welcome back to Raconteurs News. I hope you enjoyed that music. We've been having a good chat with John while we've been playing the music. So I think where I'd like to start with the second half is we've got Bernie Gadd in Facebook, and he's put quite a few things forward. Unfortunately, I haven't managed to copy them all down and all that because it's been absolutely mental with the technical side of it here tonight. But yeah. I'll try and do Bernie's questions justice. Now, Bernie's he's told his story on our show a couple of years back, and I think he's been on twice now. And Bernie's written a book about his experience. Bernie is a survivor of abuse. And he names one particular person who is, I believe, an undertaker, or was an undertaker at the time, who was arrested for the murder of Jill Dando because he was seen at a bus stop across the road sweating profusely. Now, when he was questioned about why he was there, he said, and I defy anyone not to laugh when they hear this explanation, he was looking for scrap bits of wood to make coffins from. And they let him go.
It reminds me of the MP Ron Davis. He was badger watching.
Well, this guy, the guy's name is Shackleton. I believe it's John Shackleton. I apologise if I've got that wrong. But he wasn't just arrested for the murder of Jill Dando. He was arrested for 5 different murders, but never charged for anything. So, has that guy or any information about that come up on your radar at all, John?
No, never heard of him. Never heard of him. I mean, my life has changed so much in the last 3 years. The things that have been done to me by the police that I would never thought that what I deemed as a benevolent and decent institution was capable of. I mean, nothing appalls me. I mean, it's not the average coppers. It's not their fault. I mean, they a lot of them don't know what's going on, but those that do, you know, really shame on them in many ways if they do nothing. And I'm quite unique in respect to whistleblowers because I came forward while still in post.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones I deal with came forward once they'd retired, you know, and it's something I couldn't have done, you know. I couldn't have kept my mouth shut. It's like, I suppose, in many ways, watching an old woman get beaten up and then years later saying, yeah, I saw that. And but you've got to do something about it then and there. I never ever expected to be attacked the way I was for exposing such vile crime, and I always thought that these sex crimes against children will be dealt with in the utmost seriousness, and not for one moment did I ever expect them to brush them over the carpet and then threaten me.
You seem to have like a yo-yo effect going, don't you? Because you've got the establishment that needs to cover it up, and then you've also got the general public who will believe so much to a certain extent, and then you seem to be in no man's land, don't you? Because the stuff, where it goes to, you know, I always remember John F. Kennedy talking about conspiracy so expansive, so big that nobody would believe it. And you're taking so many different elements into this. But I think the fact is, John, that the general public don't want the truth, and when you tell them the truth, because of all the the indoctrination, the programming, the cognitive dissonance kicks in, and it's somehow scrambled the truth. Yet you can give people facts and everything, and again, the establishment tend to want to cover it up. I spoke to you on the phone about my stuff where I was challenging about mortgages and banks, and the police are called on me.
Yeah.
The police didn't even know why we were there, John. These were genuine men and women who were stood there with guns at the side going, I don't know why we're here. And you're experiencing the same thing by exposing this vile thing.
Well, it goes to show that they knew what they were doing. Because so I just got a message through from the fella just saying it's okay. But you know,
I can tell you, somebody just posted in Facebook chat that you're on his show tomorrow, so no worries, John.
You got news on?
Yeah, sorry, somebody's just posted in Facebook that you're on Ollie's show tomorrow, so that's where the confusion's arisen, mate.
Oh, okay, right. I'll have to. I'll get in touch with him in a second and then let him know. But you know, they knew what they would do. The piece is heavily compartmental.
Yeah.
I worked with Mike.
Oh, right.
Sorry, John, just started. John, just start again.
Level.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's just the internet connection.
No worries, mate.
Is a bit poor.
When you got to the bit where you said the police is heavily compartmentalised, and we kind of lost you from there.
Yeah, I mean, what it is, the police is it's heavily compartmentalised. So, with a whole array of desks, I'm just going to go downstairs. It connects with Bella, and you know, one person won't know what the person next to him is doing or involved in.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the crime. With the crime, you're going to get certain levels of crime will only be dealt with by a certain unit.
Yeah.
So they may get reported to the average Bobby on the beat, but he won't be allowed to manage it. It will go to the specialist unit, which will have total governance for it. So they're in effect the filter as to what comes out and what doesn't. And that's why no one's really heard of what has been going on in London. Yeah.
Did you find, John, that constabularies were difficult? You know, like say there was connections from, say just for argument's sake, a case that you were working on involving paedophilia. Would you say that constabularies in other counties, they couldn't, or should we say, were encouraged to not share information, kind of thing? Well, that could have joined dots and brought this to the fore sooner.
Well, the thing is, they don't work together. You know, some of them hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll have totally different indices. So they'll be non-transferable, so you won't be able to search them.
Yeah.
And the thing is with London's got a lot of police. Well, it did have.
Yeah.
Now, if you take a town like Luton, it's got social problems on a scale of London, and it's got, you know, the sort of density of population in certain areas, same as parts of inner London. Yet they won't even have 1/10 of the police force.
Yeah.
So once you get into the provincial areas, you're sort of getting into the wilderness when it comes to policing as well.
Yeah.
Now, what I found with what I was dealing with, these kids, you know, they were known to the police. They were picked up by the police on many occasions, but the police had no interest in dealing with them. And in fact, they were encouraged not to deal with them.
Yeah, I do remember you saying that you know, police to send them on the way if they've been arrested at the scene, send them on the way type thing.
Yeah, and especially the children that go missing.
Yeah.
You know, I do hear some of these stories that hundreds of thousands of kids go missing and never turned up. Well, if that happened in England, we wouldn't have a population within a generation. They'd all be dead. But they do go missing, but they do reappear.
Yeah.
But I mean, some never reappear. And there was an informant I had who told me about a place he was picked up as a young lad, and how the people who raped and abused him in a big house in North London did try and kill him. and he knew of 2 children that had gone to this house to never return. So it does go on, but on the whole, the kids do reappear. Now, what should have happened is these kids should be debriefed by the police and asked where they've been, what they've been up to, but they don't.
They've got the information, haven't they? They've got the information that can unlock all this.
They have, and the thing is, and this is what I was saying to you about if people have got a problem with the police. Well, I say back what I'm doing, because we need the police to come forward and expose this.
Yeah.
We need police whistleblowers. If the police are not allowed to whistleblow on this, then no one else has that information, and it never gets out, and the victims never get their voice.
Yeah.
And I'm corroborating what a lot of victims have been saying,
especially
with the work that I'm doing with Billy Maloney and a few of the others. It's corroborating, it's tying in. The intelligence is almost identical.
Exactly.
You know, and it brings a lot of comfort to them as well, because that they realise that, you know, that they wasn't going mad. And this is what happens. They isolate you, they denigrate you, and you've got no one to talk to. No one wants to listen about this. So if you start talking about it, can we not talk about this, please? Can we not talk about it? And the thing is, what we've got to look at is they brought in legislation in 2003, the Bad Character Act. Now, what that was they used to have a thing called similar fact evidence, and it could only be brought in certain trials. And it was, if someone's got previous convictions, they were never allowed to say it in a court case unless certain exceptions applied.
Yeah.
But now they can. Now, one of the things is a character of dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean you're a liar. That means that you've got a propensity to commit acts of dishonesty, and they could be theft offences. Theft offences are dishonesty offences.
Yeah.
So you could be targeted as dishonest character. Say you make an allegation, a historic allegation, that when you was in a kid's home, you was abused. As a result of the abuse, you've gone on to have a lifestyle of criminality, which has resulted in a heroin addiction. And to fund that addiction, you now shoplift and you get caught shoplifting.
Yeah.
So you're now deemed a liar to start with before you even get a chance to give your evidence.
Yeah.
And people were saying, hooray for the Bad Character Act. It's giving justice at last, but it's actually quite sinister. And in many cases,
silencing
the opposite. Silencing him, yeah. And we're looking at the legal aid being withdrawn. And the other thing is there is an overzealous use of the contempt laws. And I've been told by a barrister, be careful about contempt, John.
Yeah.
And they will use it. So if I can't prove something to the degree a court could, and I talk about it, it's contemptuous behaviour.
Yeah.
And then if it's contemptuous behaviour, you can then be warned by a judge. And then this is when the big boys get involved, because if you go against the ruling of the judge, then you go inside.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what happens, and they are so overzealous with these contempt laws.
I've seen it with my friend Anthony Carlin over in Ireland.
Oh yeah.
When he knew everything that was going on, as a police investigator, he had all the facts. He knew that judge was doing everything wrong. He was up for arrest, and they just.
Well, the other thing, Paul, you know, take Anthony Carlin, for example. You know, what have they done? They've brought his fears to reality by putting in prison a copper.
Yeah.
You know, and they put a copper in prison. I mean, that's the worst place a copper could be. I did have a discussion, argument with someone, and they were saying about how the hatred for police in the prison system, and that everyone in prison is there because of a policeman. And I went, well, on one degree, but on another level, 8% of them are there because of paedophiles.
Yeah.
You know, because if you take the prison population, so many of the people are the victims of abuse.
Yes.
You know, and no one's getting it, no one's seeing it, no one is joining the dots.
Yeah.
I think, what the hell's going on here? You know, we are, like I keep saying, we are destroying our society. I'm here for the kids.
Yeah.
And as long as I've got breath in me, I will keep continually campaigning and fighting for justice for the kids. And I will. And I'm doing it by exposing the whistleblower cover-ups, but also I am working with the victims and survivors of abuse. You know, and a lot of the work that Bill and myself do, it comes out of our own pockets.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I do know sorry, that ties in well, because there's another thing that's coming up that you're about to partake in, isn't it? There's another thing that you're going to do about swimming. So can you tell us?
There's it's a GoFundMe page with my name. Last year, I walked from London to Manchester along the canals, and that was poignant because the canals were a place where paedophiles were able to live with impunity.
That's how they got sex offenders register, wasn't it?
Yeah, they could evade registry by going on the canal. Since when I first started looking into it, was on the canal. So London was, for me, was where a place where I lived most of my life and where I worked all my working life. So it had a big part for me. And then Manchester, because I started working with Maggie Oliver, and the Rochdale scandal had broken. Yeah. So it was along there. It was 300 miles. We did it in the worst weather imaginable. Yeah. But we were walking along. People got to know what we were doing. There was an MP walked with us. There was other coppers came. Hell's Angel chapter came with us. And we were getting total and utter unanimous support all the way along. We were walking in the pubs and being applauded. So what I'm doing is this time I've got an old bike which I've done up, which is very symbolic of that. All right, someone's thrown something away. Just because they thrown it away doesn't mean you can't make it decent, you can't make it beautiful, and it can't work as good as something else. Yeah. And it was one of the things my oldest boy, biologically he's not my son, and you know, when their mum left, he was going to go in care system. His first bike, we found it in the river in the East End of London, and it was an old bike. Took it back, we both stripped it down, rebuilt it up, and I taught him to ride his bike on it. Yeah. And it was symbolic, saying, if you say what has been thrown away, that will be the best bike on the road, and I'll guarantee it. So I've got this old bike, it's all done up. I'm going to cycle down to Cornwall, and I'm going to swim around the Isles of Scilly. So there's going to be, I think it's about 28 miles swimming and 300 miles cycling. I'm going to be drumming up as much support and funding as I can. That money is going to go to split between the lay community, which is where Big Chris Lambriano works with the alcohol and drug rehab people, which has got a huge success rate, whereas our prison system has got a recidivism rate like no other. It doesn't work. No. You know, 75 to 8% recidivism is appalling. Yeah. And the other bit is going to go to the Swinton Knot charity, which is a charity in Rotherham, where the big scandal was, and it's run by the whistleblower James Seeley, the social worker there, and she looks after so many kids, and she's got 100 of them kids were involved in the child prostitution scandal out there, and she still caters for them. And since she's been whistleblowing, the government has started to withdraw her funding.
Well, we've seen what's happened to a lot of whistleblowers. I'll just bring in Melanie Shaw, who blew the whistle on the Nottingham care home scandals, and you know she's got names of MPs and councillors and all kinds, and she's been disappeared into the prison system. You know, no sentence, nothing. She's just gone. And if people like her can't get that type of justice when they're trying to do the right thing, again it comes back to why is this system, why is this establishment that, as you said, this police force that you adored, that you thought, if you bring this information, people will act upon it. And then you see it all being shut down and people being disappeared. It's absolutely disgusting. And you said rightly earlier on, John, that people have this cognitive dissonance. It's not in their reality because it's on television or it's somewhere else. It's not them. And, you know, I've said it a lot through the stuff that I work with. Until it happens to you, until you can't pay your mortgage or until something happens, you won't do anything about it. And that happens a lot. But if we start to come together like we are doing, just in the last 6 months alone, yourself included, and you've put me in touch with people who I know I've got information that will bolster what they're already doing. Yeah. And I'm thinking everything is starting to come together. Well, there's no other way for it to go.
This is going to be one of the biggest embarrassments this nation's ever had if it continues down this path it's doing. And I'm going to make an appeal now to all you these chief constables: don't cover this up. Don't. You didn't join the force to cover this up. If you cover this up, children will be hurt. Don't do it. And I'm saying, not a threat, I'm saying you're going to regret it. because this is going to come and bite you. It's like Billy Maloney says, you interfere with the spirits of dead children. Don't do it. And anyone that does, they will regret it. And why are they doing? For what reason are they doing it? Are they doing it because they want to maintain the face of the establishment they so dearly love, or is there a financial incentive? And when you look at these chief constables, when they leave post, they go and work for big businesses in the city. Now, when they take these fellas on, these guys and girls on, they can float higher on the stock market because their head of compliance, their head of security, their head of whatever is an ex-Scotland Yard commissioner or a chief constable, boom, boom, boom. So their name is a commodity. But would any company want to invest in someone who's covered up child abuse and aggressively covered it up? And when you look at how many people, because they're not listened to, commit suicide, how many coppers, through fear of going inside and all that, also commit suicide. I mean, statistics on police suicides are monumental. Now, there might be a lot of people out there don't care whether cops commit suicide or not, but we need a police force. Even the gangsters say to me, we do need a police force. What we don't need is a corrupt police force.
Exactly. I've got some questions, Andy.
Can I just
Take your mute off, mate.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute. I had to mute because I got a bollocking off Penny on Facebook because she could hear me tapping away on the keyboard. I'd like to apologise to everyone who's been asking so many questions in the chat room tonight. I've tried to get into as many of them as I can, but unfortunately, when you've got a guest like John and he's flowing so well, it's bloody hard to get them all in. I just wanted to read one out that was posted by Alley Cat George.
I'm Facebook friends with that lad.
Yeah, and she said 22 months in solitary confinement. Free Melanie Shaw.
Yeah. Is there any other questions for John? Because we have been talking a while.
There's been quite a lot centred around Freemasonry, but we've kind of gone there. Someone did ask the question: is John aware, from first-hand knowledge, of a sitting member at Westminster or a member of the royal family that came into his investigations?
I mean, an MP was mentioned to me. Again, I'm suing the Met Police. Well, I'm in the process of suing them.
Obviously you've got to be.
So, and I have been warned about the contempt issues. So,
no worries.
But there was an MP. There was quite a high-ranked MP.
Okay, well, we don't want to get you
many times. But I have heard subsequently from other people about various politicians. But again, I seem to have frozen for a minute.
Yeah, we can still hear you though.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, it's right. And I do get a wealth of information come to me. But that's for someone else to mention, not myself. Really, I've just got the box clever with it. But what I would say with it, without naming names, is it's the usual suspects. Yeah. And again, we've got to look at like the press say, innocent until proven dead, and they always seem to give dead people, don't they?
Yeah, they do. The dead people always seem to be the guilty ones, don't they?
We've got an interesting comment here from Carrots. Nice to see you back in the chat room. Like I say, it's been a long while, Carrot. Always has good stuff to put in there. He's actually put, needs a part 2. Bring John on next Tuesday. We need solutions now.
What's on next Tuesday? Is it just the same again, is it?
Have we got anything booked next Tuesday, Paul?
I think it's, well, hopefully, it's going to be Gareth Ike.
No, he's booked for Monday.
Oh, good. Well, then, that's brilliant.
Yeah, because I booked Francis. So if you're free and you want to come back, you'd be more than welcome, John.
Is he still?
Have we scared the shit out of him, or has he just froze or something?
I think he's froze.
He's still connected to the call, John.
Yeah, he's got the call now, hasn't he?
Oh, he's got the call.
I thought we were doing well.
You know, most radio shows, they'd be shouting and screaming and, oh, fucking hell, it's GCHQ, they're fucking us up. No. We know that Skype's shit. We know that collectively we're fairly incompetent as broadcasters. We're just four blokes sat in a spare room doing what we do. And I think John's just brought our electronic ineptitude to a whole new level.
I don't think, but again, it's as you just said, we haven't got that kind of technical capability. I think we're getting there because I think from this, I've got in touch with other radio shows. There's one close to us that they want to come on to our show and then invite us onto their show because they want to start bringing groups together. I've got a group. We had Dave Witcher on, didn't we, representing or bringing out what the Dragons were doing.
Oh yeah.
I've got in touch with a guy called David Jeremita, who's one of the guys who's established the Sovereign Paralegals, the SPLs, and they're running groups and they're moving things and they're coming off from all kinds of different angles. So all these groups are starting to come together. So
I think
John, you're back.
I think we've got John back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm literally sort of going on fumes here with my battery. It's exactly like. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just I've just not got the visual at the moment, but yeah, no, it's been a long and painful journey, and you really do punch a hornet's nest when you do anything like this. But my story is not unique. I mean, there's been many more have suffered the same fate. There was a fella years ago when I was a young detective, and he was a whistleblower in the flying squad, and I mean, what they did to him was just appalling, you know, and they pushed him to the point where he did try and kill himself.
That was a closed unit, wasn't it? The flying squad.
Yeah.
It was a closed unit. There's a mate of mine who's in the fire service. I don't know if Kev's listening, but I played football with Kev, and he's a serving fireman. And I saw you on a recent interview with a lady, but you mentioned that there was a possibility that they were looking, or in the agenda, they were looking to amalgamate the police and the fire. Could you expand on any of that?
Yeah, that was told to me by a cabinet minister, and that's well underway.
Wow, because he's had no inkling on that whatsoever.
Yeah, they've even been advertising for a commissioner for the Joint Police Fire Service amalgamated team or whatever it is. So they're positively now recruiting for members of it, you know.
So, Kev France, if you're listening, pass that on to your mates.
Yeah, no, that's been. I mean, what they've done is they've regionalised police. They started in Scotland. It didn't work because Glasgow just swallowed up, you know, all the rural areas. So the rural areas of Scotland just virtually don't get any police presence at all. Yeah. And Glasgow gets everything. Yeah. They said they won't do it with London for that reason because they saw how it failed. But what they are doing is making like these huge sort of county areas. They're amalgamating massive swathes of the country. So you're going to have like a West region, an East region. Yeah. And what you evidence that you give, because years ago you'd have a police car and they'd have, say, Lancashire Constabulary on it, and then there'd be Cheshire Constabulary. You look at police cars now; they've just got police. Yeah. You know, they've just got police, and they do tend to. So
it's bit by bit, isn't it? They've done it very mentally working. Yeah. Notice that the Cheshire Constabulary has been taken off and changed with just police.
Yeah. No, they have done it slowly. So it's been a well worked out plan. This has been decades in the planning. They haven't just done it. You know, it's been devised a long time ago. But no, I was told that the fire service and the police will soon be sharing buildings.
Oh, can I just jump in? We've got a really cutting question there from Bernie. Bernie was the guy who mentioned about the Jill Dando murder connection, and I've got a link for Bernie's book, which he wants me to send you a copy so you can get a free copy of his book.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you, Bernie.
And he wants to know. Oh, bugger it. Scrolling up that fast now. Does John know about the abuse at Lambeth Police Station and a holding centre?
Well, I do, and I've learned that from many sources. I think you'll find it actually wasn't. It was in Lambeth. It was a police building, but it wasn't a police station. But it was a police building. I'm a bit reluctant to go any more about it online, on air. But away from this, I'm happy to say what I know. But yes is the answer. Yes,
Wow.
And that's from quite a few sources I've heard that.
So this is where the sentences are coming in now, John, because you know, as you said, not only are you an honourable man with balls, which we've established, but you've worked with only facts. If they're not going to come on here and you may give an opinion, but you're not going to say that it's factual. But if it's a fact, you state it's fact, and that is exactly where the truth comes from. It's the people that have the problem now, because you can feed people the truth all day, every day, but if it disrupts their life pattern whatsoever, they will do everything to cognitive dissonance it and take it away. But I think the fact is now that people are being screwed so much into
Well, they have.
They're running out of options.
Well, they have. And what I'm comfortable in saying is that they have deliberately covered this up, and in doing so, they've let down society's most vulnerable children, and they have.
And the question arises, doesn't it? That why have they done that? That's the big question.
And you know, the media get a hard time, but I've spoken with journalists from near enough every single major tabloid paper, and there's certain MPs that crop up all the time, and they're no big surprise in who they are. And they've said to me, you know, we have tried to expose them, we have, but we can't. We get blocked each time we do.
You
know, and so
that's the big kick-off about the alternative, whatever you want to call it, the alternative.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, is that a retired copper came to me, and he said to me that when he was serving in a certain part of central London, and I served there as well, and he said, you know, just before your time there, John, there was a meeting held, all the patrol officers were brought in, and the superintendent turned around to him and said, anyone that is out there that is stopping anyone coming in or out, or any car going in and out of Dolphin Square, could face discipline and maybe dismissal.
Wow.
You know, and then.
Sorry, John. Just for the people who may not know what Dolphin Square is related to.
Well, Dolphin Square crops up because there was quite a few people said that this is a place they were abused, and it is a posh block of flats, and there's a lot of parliamentary residents in there. And it's in the Pimlico region of central London, and there's been quite a few of the victims have come forward and have been absolutely trashed for saying it, and classed fantasists and all that. And while we're on that subject, what I have to say here is I'm going to try for the camera again. Hang on a sec.
But if your battery's like, right?
Right, no, it's right. I've got it plugged in now.
Oh, awesome.
What I will say, all the years of interviewing children, I only had one case where a kid was lying, and that kid fell at the first hurdle. Anyone that goes through the court procedure for any serious sexual offence as a victim is harrowing. Why would anyone want to put themselves through that? And a historical abuse case has got a 2% success rate, and the police have to prove beyond all reasonable doubt. So it's hard game. It is a real hard game. And if you are lying, you know, that will usually catch you out the whole process, because it is just not a nice place to be. And when they say, the first thing they will say, oh, the kid's lying. Well, what else are they going to say? You know, they're going to say that it's a lie. I mean, at what point would anyone say, oh yeah, I've done that, and I've done a few more as well? It's not just we're never that lucky.
They did it with the two kids in the Hampstead satanic ritual abuse one, didn't they? They've tried to debunk that as best they can. Where that's gone now, I don't know whether that's still ongoing or.
Yeah, I mean the ongoing kids cases are very. you know, you've got to be cautious of them because they will throw a case out very easily. I mean, from what I've heard, they haven't made much of an effort to investigate it anyway. Yeah, but I mean, that will be one of many.
I think they're happy to just draw the line there and say, oh,
well, if you take like cases like the baby P, and I mean, I had some involvement in that case. I mean, what we used to say in the office was that baby P was one of many kids.
Yeah.
You know, and that would have happened up and down the country, day in, day out. Kids would have gone through that. You know, and one of the things we can't detract from it. You know, minds tend to, you know, go off on a tangent and think there's a big high up conspiracy. But, you know, sometimes a lot of these failings are down to incompetence and they're down to snobbery as well.
Yeah.
When you take 80% of aviation disasters are down to human error, you know, with all the electronics, it still comes down to, you know, incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of the cases, you know, there have been reviews have been done into this, and officers haven't gone into some of these houses to do proper assessments.
I was just going to say, would you say that some of the police may have possibly been selected to mess up the investigation?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe at a more senior level that things are definitely capped. But I mean, but lower down, I mean, I know of cases where you know, kids have been failed because an officer won't go in the house because the people have got scabies or tuberculosis, or it's just a mess. And
this is what they're saying about the Muslim stuff, though, isn't it? Because it's not PC. The police have been decided not to go in there. So this is why the Muslim type of rape gangs and paedophile gangs are being centred on more, aren't they? Because the police, you know, we've seen it with happening in Sweden, where there's no-go zones, where women, instead of police intervening in rapes, they're issuing women with "please don't rape me" wristband. You know, it seems to be systemic, and it's starting to creep more and more.
Well, the other thing, what we've got to be careful of is ignoring the organised criminality behind this.
Yes.
Because, you know, the Rotherham thing, they initially put that down to, you know, the reluctance of police to investigate any crimes involving Muslims. But you know, kids were saying they were taken to posh houses, some of these
counsellors.
You know, yeah, you know. So we're talking about, okay, but what we've got to look at, let's look at history. Okay, they're going on about Kashmiri Pakistanis that are pimping kids out in the area, but they're a prominent, you know, race in that locality. You go back in London, you go back to the 50s, the pimps, the ones that were pimping out the women and the kids back then were the Maltese. You know, the Maltese. I remember a man saying to me once his sister brought home a boyfriend and he was Maltese, and the parents went mad and said, oh, they're all pimps. And then that moved on to the next people, boom, 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 and it went on. I mean, it's gone on. There's East European gangs.
There's loads of bogeymen were meant to.
Well, exactly. You know, I've dealt with Kosovans, Lithuanians, English, Jamaicans. They were all at it. You know, they're all. Yeah, you know, and then we got to look at what was happening in the kids' homes. Yeah. You know, these kids were being trafficked. See, trafficking conjures up images of kids being taken from a third world country and brought to a posh house in London. Trafficking is a mover from point A to point B for the purpose of crime.
Yeah.
You know, so taking a kid from a kid's home to a block of flats, that's trafficking.
Of course it is.
You know, and so we always look abroad and laugh at them. We've had it going on in this country for a long time, and we've deliberately ignored it. We've always pointed our finger abroad, and because this is the UK, we have got this conceited attitude. That
it doesn't matter, John. We're too British.
Exactly, yeah.
Of
course, yeah. You know, that happens over there. I know, and it's shocking, but without insulting anyone, the people that need to wake up to the prevalence of this are the white middle classes.
Yes.
And that is where I have seen a dominance in a reluctance to accept this. I have seen a massive cognitive dissonance in this.
And
they have to wake up. This is going on.
And it's the white middle class that are being sandwiched with everything, not just from the paedophilia or anything, but it's the mortgage, it's the bills, it's the economy, the banking system. They've all been squashed to the point. I mean, I come from working class. I can never say we've been poor, but I've always had enough. But I know 4 people who've never stood a chance. You see them every day, and they can't. They're too busy trying to find, say, what the hell world am I living in? The white middle class have got all that, but they just, as you said earlier, all it takes is for these people to do nothing. Good people to do nothing.
And we are.
Sorry, I think Andy's trying to jump in, John.
Sorry, I was just trying to jump in there because there's the comment that I really would like to read out, and it's from Diane Healing, who's listening down in Dorset, apparently. Well, welcome to the show, Diane. She says, could you please ask he feels this is ever going to get any better for our future children?
Yes. Categorically, yes. And it starts with a small step. Like I say, I'm going to be doing the bike ride at the end of August, September. I need that to be put out as much as possible. I'll be drumming up much awareness. We are campaigning with MPs. We've got quite a few MPs that are behind us now. I mean, I get a lot of people say, well, you can't trust them. Well, you can only work with the tools you've got. Work with the tools you've got. There's a lot of MPs that are disgusted with this. Yeah. There's a guy come to me the other day and he said, I'm appalled by this. This isn't how we behave. And I'm getting it from all over, and it is bringing people together and the awareness, and we're giving the voice to the victims, and it's a matter of sitting down and looking at things in a different way instead of the beggar on the street, the heroin addict. What brought them there? I mean, if you go back a little while ago, they had Mayor Giuliano was brought over from New York with his broken window theory, saying that an area of depravity, if you clean it up, clear all the breakages, you won't get the junkies there. The junkies won't bring the crime, won't bring the robbery, won't be. Take this timeline back. We're not taking a timeline back for that. It all begins and ends in child abuse. Take it right back to its inception. They're dealing with the most vulnerable society, the purest thing that we've got, right? The best commodity we can have, and we're destroying it. And therefore, from cradle to grave, we have got this dysfunctionality, which then goes on to the next generation, the next generation. We are now breaking the circle, and we are. And it all starts with exposure, and it all starts with us standing together. And what I would say to the whistleblowers, don't be frightened. They can destroy one person, and they've tried their damnedest with me, and they've done it with all the other brave ones that stood up. But we are now uniting, and we are standing together, and it's a lot more difficult. And with the coppers, we've got a bit of standing. We've got a bit of credibility about us. And they should be listening to us, and we need the media to start doing stories on this. I mean, how is this not a story? I have to go to the media and beg them, please, can you do something here, please? And then they're worried about libel laws. But we get done if we say that. I've had the BBC say that to me.
This is why our format, what me, Andy, Jason, and Amy have been doing for the last 6 months, the format it's not even been. Andy would probably agree, it's not even been a format that we've said this is what we'll do. This is what it's evolved into naturally. It started with just Andy and Jason and Ada, and then I've been asked to come in, and it's evolved into what this is now. And earlier we mentioned a guy called Russell Burton who wants to make a video to promote, because he's heavily into child abuse survivors. He's helping child abuse survivors. And he's done a film called The Inner Circle, which is it's a cracking documentary if you want to pick that up on YouTube.
I'll check that out.
Russell Burton. And he wants to do a video as Bill's already done with you, the Whistling Detective. He wants to do something a bit similar. But a Raconteurs News will promote everything that you've got, Johnson. You keep me in the loop about that, mate, and we'll...
No, it's lovely. And my response to the caller from Dorset is yes. We are changing this, and we are stopping. We are, and my progression the last year has been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But again, stuff goes on Facebook and it doesn't get a share or a like. But then someone said to me, there's a video of Beckham kicking a ball over some garages, and 1 million people have watched it. I mean, come on, what we definitely. I mean, like I always say, that woman threw a cat in a bin. And it was like the whole country was ready to go to war. I mean,
mate, do you not remember how many hundreds of thousands of people voted to release Deirdre Rashid out of jail for the Coronation Street? This is what you're against. This is what you're against.
But I mean, we need to give the voice to the victims and survivors, and you need to start being listened to, and that is slowly happening, you know.
Brilliant.
Well,
I've got an eye on the time here, Andy. How are we doing?
Yeah, we've had a really, really positive response tonight, and as Carrot suggested there about a part 2, I don't know if you fancy doing that, if you'd be up for that, John.
Of course I will. Yeah. I'll do whatever it takes. Like I always say, I just need the platform. Give me the platform, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll put the words out. You know, my journey was about speaking out. You know, okay, I've now got my pension, and you know, but what sort of person would I be if I remain silent? We can't be silent on this. You know, we can't.
That's
we
what.
need to get. And I'm not out to cause discord with the police service. I'm not here to cause problems for the Home Office. I'm not. I'm here.
You have to make the police service better.
And make society better. I'm here to give the voice to the whistleblower and protect the victims, survivor abuse. That's all I want to do. This has to stop. We have to stop this abuse on our children. And that is it. And that's the bottom line with me, you know.
I agree, John. Thanks so much for coming on.
No, sorry about earlier on. It was a bit mad, but
I think we'll get it right for part 2 next week.
Yeah.
Come on next week, and we can then talk about a little bit further of how we can help bring people together to show, you know, to help you on your path and get this moving. Because I myself have got a few MPs who are in touch who want to do things about this as well. So,
well, I'll tell you what. One thing I always encourage people to watch is the documentary on Marc Dutroux in Belgium.
I've watched that.
Yeah. Dutrous. Marc Dutroux. Watch that, and that will show you what happens when people find out about the cover-up and what they do to stop it happening.
Yeah, what's that? The truth. He spent years doing whatever he liked, completely free. The Beast of Belgium, they called him.
You know, and 90 civilian witnesses died in the lead up to that trial.
Exactly.
And that shows how dirty it all was. You know, all right, they didn't get the result they wanted, but they got a result, which is something. You know, so that's it. But
thanks again, once again, John. I'll be in touch with you through the week, and we'll set it up for next Tuesday and get you back on, mate.
Right, lovely. And if people could just watch the Walking Whistleblower Detective and get that circulated.
Yeah, we'll get the links put in on this show as well. We'll promote that as well.
We'll do that.
Okay, right. Thanks a lot, chaps.
Yeah, take care, John.
Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Take it. I'll pop you that link in Skype for Bernie's book as well.
Yeah. No worries. I'll give you my address for that.
All right.
Right. Latest chaps.
Take care, John.
Thanks. We've had a fantastic evening, everybody. Well, it's never a real pleasure discussing this subject. It's quite a heavy thing to talk about, but I think, you know, we kept it.
Got to be talked about, hasn't it? Yeah,
we kept it on a level that's not going to make people turn off because they can't bear to listen to it.
Yeah.
And for that, I think, you know, that I'm quite grateful, because that kind of thing is really difficult to listen to. But I'm looking forward to getting him back on. Got an interesting guest you got lined up on Monday then.
Yeah, providing he doesn't become a father before then or on the day. We're looking forward to bringing Gareth Ike in to talk about a bit about his life, I presume, and his music as well, because you know, Gareth's a man in his own right. He doesn't stand in anybody's shadows, but I'm sure he's got a lot of his own opinions, as I've exchanged a lot of information with him, so looking forward to having a chat with him.
We've only had one musician on before, and that was dull as fucking ditchwater, man.
I don't think this is going to be one of those.
Me and Jason was looking at each other after 20 minutes and was like, oh, God. No, I don't think that'll be like that. It should be good. I've heard Gareth a while back when the People's Voice was going, and he can rap it, yeah. So, we're onwards and upwards. We're still here. We're still going strong. We're Raconteurs News. Tell your friends, like all the shit on everywhere, you know, Facebook and
YouTube,
Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And any sort of feedback you've got is much appreciated. It's been a really positive Facebook and
also, if you've got any subjects
chat
that
room
you
tonight.
want us to discuss, that you want to come on and talk about, if you've got substance, come email us, talk to us, see what we can sort out.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening tonight. We're going to play out with a tune from Jason's best mate Heath, and I think it's quite appropriate. So see you Monday at 7.
Night, folks.
Just check I've got the right tune.
That was almost professional then.
Oh, yeah, we can turn Facebook off now, can't we?
Yeah.
Right, thanks for listening, everybody on Facebook. It's been tremendous response on there. The busiest one I've seen while I've been producing it, and it's nice to know that folks are listening. All right, take care.